In order to play tennis well, you need to have a really high level of coordination. But unfortunately, most adult tennis players don't have the type of coordination that's going to allow them to play tennis in the way that they want. That's why they struggle to improve and why they're not able to develop modern or high level techniques. And this gets magnified when you're talking about older players. I've done hundreds of assessments for coordination on different players, and there are certain parts of the body that players tend to struggle with more than others. And in today's video, I want to show you a very simple assessment and training exercise for one of those key parts of the body. So hopefully you find the video helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, much appreciated if you could do that as well. So the part of the body we're going to be assessing and training today is the pelvis. It is a tremendously important part of the body for all of your strokes because you initiate all of your shots by driving through the hips and the pelvis, whether it's the forehand, the backhand, or the serve. It all comes from the hips and the pelvis. And if you can't coordinate it, if it doesn't move properly, it is really going to restrict your performance. So today we're going to start with a simple assessment / coordination exercise for the pelvis. And then I'm going to show you some more advanced variations, kind of shot specific variations that you can also work. So for the basic assessment and coordination training exercise, we're going to be doing a pelvic circle. It can be a little bit hard to see on camera, but hopefully you can make it out well enough to be able to follow along with it. So that's what the pelvic circle looks like, but we're going to break it down into two different movements, and then we're going to go back into the circle. So the first movement is going to be an anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. So this is the pelvis. If you kind of find the big bones at the top, an anterior pelvic tilt is when your butt sticks out like that. A posterior pelvic tilt is when this happens. So if you look at my hands there, anterior is forwards, posterior is back. So this is the first movement that you need to be able to do. Can you tip the pelvis forwards and back? But we're trying to do it under control. It's not a really big movement where we're arching our back like that. We're trying to keep the upper body relatively still and just make a small anterior and posterior pelvic tilt, basically controlling it with our glutes, our kind of butt muscles, and some of the muscles in the abdomen. So that is part one. Can you make that happen? Part two is then going to be a lateral tilt. So for the lateral tilt, we're going to bend the knees a little bit, and I'm basically going to be thinking about lifting each side of my pelvis up. And this is the one that players tend to start to struggle on. Can I just lift one side and then the other? Notice that my upper body isn't moving a lot. I'm not doing this, upper body is staying still. I'm just lifting the pelvis. My knees are bending and straightening a little bit, so you can see there's a little bit of bending and straightening going on in the knee, but I'm not doing this and this and this. I'm not driving the movement from the knees. Again, I'm trying to drive this movement from the core muscles. So you're just going to be thinking about creating a lateral tilt like this. Another way to think about that one is going to be if you just stand there and just try and lift one leg up and lower one leg to the ground like so. So I'm not leaning over, I'm just trying to keep my weight over this leg and I'm just lifting it off the floor. And if you're able to do that, that'll be using the same muscles. So we've got the forwards and backwards tilt, and then we've got the lateral tilt, and then we're going to combine that into a pelvic circle. Can you do pelvic circles in both directions? So just a small movement, trying to control it, noticing how the upper body stays still, but we're trying to make that circular motion. Theoretically simple, but a lot of players struggle with it. Are you able to make it happen? So that's the basic assessment and training exercise. If you're not able to do that, you have to work on the forwards and backwards and the sidewards tilts and then the circles until you can do it smoothly. Now we're going to work on the shot specific, more advanced exercises. And again, this is both an assessment and a training exercise. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to set up in shot specific positions. And we're generally going to choose 3 positions. I'm going to choose my preparation. I'm going to choose a contact point, and then I'm going to choose a follow through, and in those positions I'm going to see, can I control the pelvis? So this is going to be about coordination and control, but what you also might start to find is that there's a lot of restrictions in terms of your hips, and it might indicate that maybe you need a little bit more hip mobility in order to hit some of the shots that you want to be able to hit. But if I'm working on a forehand, I'm going to set up in my ready position or in my preparation position. So I'm going to be hitting a neutral stance forehand. I've got my unit turn, and then in this position, keeping my head looking at where the ball's coming from, can I create pelvic circles in both directions? Can I actually coordinate the movement, or do I have restrictions or pain or anything like that? I'm then going to get into the contact point position. Again, my head's going to be lined up in that position. Everything else is going to be set the way that I want it. And in this position, can I control my pelvis and make circles in each direction? Or is there any restriction? Is there any pain or discomfort? And then finally, can I do the follow through? Again, in that position, am I able to control my pelvis and make circles with it? And then we could do exactly the same on the backhand. So I could set up in a ready position, two-hander, one-hander, or in my preparation position. And then I can do a contact position, and then I can do a follow-through position. In all those positions, can I control my pelvis? And we can obviously vary the stances, so I could work on open stances, I could be open and much wider, and when you start to have your legs wider apart, you'll probably start to feel that there's a lot more restrictions. So that, again, that might be something you want to work on. So if I want to stay really low to the ground, can I actually mobilize and coordinate my pelvic movement in that position? And you can actually do this as a bit of a before and after test. So you can use it when you're out on court. You could do some shadow swings, or you could work on a few strokes, have a rally, then test this, get in position, do a few circles, do a few circles, do a few circles, and then either hit some shadow swings or go back into your rally. And you'll probably find that after you've done that little bit of coordination work, your strokes feel much more fluid and more smooth, and you've just got kind of more control and more freedom in this area. So give these assessments a try, and feel free to leave me a comment down below letting me know how you got on. And if you would like to learn more about using this style of training to improve your tennis, this is the main thing that I work with tennis players on. I teach them how to use brain-based training. So a lot of it's about how to improve your vision, so you can read the flight of the ball more effectively, so that you can judge distance and depth more effectively, so that you can track more effectively, and then improving coordination so that you can use high-level techniques. So I've got a class that's going to teach you more about it. I'll place a link down in the description so you can watch this class if you're interested. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you next time.